My name is Marlon Vargas. I'm an outside sales engineer for Envelop Group, and I've been here for about 2.5 years. So as an outside sales engineer, it's my job to generate revenue for the company. That's pretty much the meat and potatoes of it. But I do that by cultivating relationships with MEP engineers and owners in the industry in my area, and I come up with engineer-driven solutions that are energy efficient and really keep the owner's best interest in mind to whatever their problem may be. It's a pretty funny story, I think, and I think there's a lot of people that can relate to it. So for many years before college and all through college, I basically worked in restaurants. I was a line cook, I was a server, I was a bartender, doing all that stuff, trying to figure out where I wanted to go in life. It wasn't until I was graduating and got into this role that I realized how much working in a restaurant has helped me out. Dealing with people in that capacity under those stress loads and multitasking all the time is exactly what an outside salesperson needs. You got to be able to think quick on your feet, and you got to be able to handle people regardless of what your day's like. So I had a lot of interviews when I was my senior year in college, but with Envelop it stood out the most because every other interview I went to, it was just real straight-laced, real professional suit and tie meeting where it felt like everybody was acting like anything but themselves. With Envelop, my first meeting was at Topgolf. My second meeting was more like an interview, but really it was just lunch. There was no resume, there was no real questions about what I knew or what I did in school. They just wanted to get to know me. It wasn't until afterwards we kind of dove into the details, but the first couple interviews were really just getting to know each other, and that's something that none of the other companies did, and it was an approach that I really appreciated. So it's definitely in the culture. Regardless how big the company gets, how many people work here, everybody always feels like a family. They're joking all the time. There's always some sort of prank or some sort of game going on any day of the week. And really the leadership, the leadership here is something different than anywhere else I've ever been. It doesn't matter how hard they work or how hard their day is, their door is always open and you can always talk to them. And that kind of mentality really affects everybody around, and you can see it. Absolutely. So support for me in my role is always really good. And that goes back to really the culture of the company. Everybody's always willing to lend a hand. And so we do, as outside salespeople, have inside sales support, but there's a ton of times I call on other outside salespeople and they don't need to help me. They probably have better things they could do, but because of the culture we have, everybody's always willing to help, and that's the best. I would tell them that the interview process and the hiring process and the development process might be a little different, and it might not be as fast as you think it should be in your head, but definitely trust the process. There's a lot that you get by just taking it day by day and working through all the scenarios and taking your time to grow within the company. So the biggest challenges I faced coming out of college was really just overcoming my fear of failure. Because in school, especially engineering school, we're kind of groomed that here's your problem, here's how you solve it, and that's what you do every time. There's a right and wrong answer. In sales, especially in engineering-driven sales, we don't have set formulas because we don't have set problems. You have a different problem every day that comes up, and there's different custom solutions that we have to be able to engineer. And if you can't think quick on your feet to come up with those solutions, it's really tough. And especially when you're dealing with a client that needs something, let's say soon, or something pretty sophisticated, my fear of failing them and looking dumb was probably the biggest thing that I had to overcome. And now I realize that it's just part of the process. You have to be okay with it. What I think makes somebody successful in a position like outside sales is you have to love building relationships, right? Because what we do is get people to not only trust our opinions, but to value our opinions. And then on top of that, you have to be competitive. Every day you have to wake up wanting to do better than you did yesterday. And sometimes you're competing against yourself or your coworkers. It's always about competing, having fun, and learning. At the end of the day, the harder I work, the more money I make. I know that it's really just up to me to dictate what my paycheck's going to be, and that financial freedom is something I'm not going to get anywhere else.